Every year in January, the governor releases his budget, and we hear the State of the State address outlining the important priorities that the governor feels we should focus on. Also, every year, Republicans are asked, what would we do differently? So we've taken a different approach this year by putting an outline together of how we would approach building a budget in the state of Rhode Island if we were in control. We've released this to coincide with the beginning of the finance hearings on the governor's proposed budgets. So what we'll do is help people understand how we would approach budgeting for the state of Rhode Island in a few short video segments that we'll release to the public. And today we're going to start that off with one very important segment on how the Republicans would approach the governor's budget. We're always asked, what would we change if Republicans were in charge of the budget? Well, regrettably, there's no light switch that we can hit that will change everything in the state of Rhode Island. So we've adopted a different approach. We want to look at our state budget as how we would approach it as Republicans. We can't come up with solutions because we don't have the expert financial staff that's available to the entire House of Representatives. We can't figure out the nickels and the dimes. But what we can figure out is how to better approach our budgeting process in a more fiscally responsible way and in a way that's respectful of the taxpayer dollars that we're spending. We're often asked, why is Rhode Island's budget so high? Especially when we look at states like Delaware and New Hampshire. Their budgets are about half the size of ours, and their populations are about the same. Well, in Rhode Island, we have a higher cost of living. We have higher Medicaid and social services costs. We have a higher debt and pension obligation. We have higher infrastructure and transit costs, and we rely much more on federal matching funds than those other states. The way to fix Rhode Island's budget problems is to right-size our budget. We can't just slash it today and expect it to be half the size. But what we can do is adopt a more fiscally responsible approach that over time will lead us to having a budget that's more in line with the size of our state when we compare it to states like Delaware and New Hampshire. And the Republicans in the Rhode Island House Minority Caucus have a plan on how to do that. It's important when dealing with budgetary priorities that we consider all Rhode Islanders in our decisions. Now, there's no light switch to turn a bad budget on or off. We can't go overnight from having a $14 billion budget down to having a $600 million budget. But what we can do is look at each and every service we deliver to the people of the state, each and every department in our state, and we can assess them for efficiency and function. If they're not functioning efficiently, if they're not delivering the necessary services to Rhode Islanders, we have to attack that as the root cause problem, rather than throwing more money at it. So by looking at these departments and these programs individually, we can find areas where we can save money, where we can do things more efficiently, where we can integrate modern technologies to deliver the services Rhode Islanders depend on in a more efficacious manner that will cost less to the Rhode Island taxpayers. It will take time. But everything worthwhile takes time, and we're dedicated to seeing this through as Rhode Island Republicans. When we look at the population of Rhode Island, we have about 1/3 of our citizens who are Medicaid eligible. We also spend almost 40% of our budget on social services. And that's a big drag on the overall budget of the state of Rhode Island. So we need to eliminate certain things, such as the welfare trap, which is how people get trapped in this cycle of dependency on state programs. We have benefit cliffs on most of our programs, where if an individual tries to get back on their feet, they're penalized and they lose all of the benefits. This isn't a way to transition people into the workplace and off of welfare. This is a way to trap people into the welfare cycle. In order to get folks back on their feet, productive, and living a prosperous life in Rhode Island, we have to approach this problem delicately but we have to offer a path to prosperity, which does not exist right now in our current system. Republicans have ways of building those transitions, incorporating them into existing programs, and helping people who may have fallen on bad times get back on their feet so that they can feel good about providing for their families and contributing to our state overall. These types of changes will not happen overnight, but if we gradually introduce this approach into all of these social service programs, the people of Rhode Island will respond better and will get far more for our money. The past several administrations in the state of Rhode Island have essentially adopted the same approach. Whenever something goes wrong, they just throw money at the problem. That doesn't solve anything. It just makes the problem more expensive. So when we see things like businesses leaving because the economic climate is not right in the state of Rhode Island, or when we see infrastructure problems, we see the same approach. We see money being thrown at them. The Republican budgetary approach is a root cause approach. We would look for what's causing the problem and addressing that rather than throwing money at Band-Aids. So for example, when a major company wants to leave the state of Rhode Island, I think we need to reflect on why, not how much money will it take to keep them. Why are they leaving? What is it about our economic climate, our business, our regulatory environment that's driving them out? And attack that rather than throw money at one company to keep them here. It doesn't help anyone in Rhode Island to do that. It just costs them more money. The budget approach of Rhode Island Republicans is a thoughtful approach. It will eliminate these reasons why companies leave, why we have so many failures. If we're smart about spending your money, we will make this state a great state, a state where prosperity will be in everyone's hands, where businesses can thrive, where our children will stay in our state and can afford to buy a house here. But it will take discipline, it will take time, and it will take dedication. And it's going to take your help as well.